So the UFC is set to return to Brazil for UFC 274 in May 2022 next year, and lightweight champion Charles Oliveira wants to headline that card against Conor McGregor. Oliveira did an interview with Marcelo Alonso from SureDog.com. This is what the champ had to say about a fight with Conor. Quote, "May would be a wonderful date," he said. Conor challenged me asking a date and tweeted Ireland versus Brazil. Not only him, but also myself and all the world wants to see this fight. So let's make it happen. I'm waiting for him in May. It may be in welterweight, lightweight, or middleweight. With my title on the line or not, just choose and I'll be ready. End quote. Moving on to Justin Gaethje, who recently did an interview with TMZ Sports. Gaethje was not happy at all hearing that Conor McGregor might jump the line. Justin says he will burn it all down if he gets passed over.
I burn it all down, dude. What do you mean? I can burn it down. That's what I do. And he is so irrelevant. He has not won a fight since 2016 in the lightweight division. I'm ranked number 1. I saw they updated the rankings. I'm number 1 now. That feels pretty good. I'm fighting for the belt, man. My whole life I've been working towards this. That is what's next. If not, I can burn it down. It doesn't matter. I'll show up and start throwing dollies everywhere. I don't know what the answer is. I would absolutely not allow him to fight for the title if he did not win and go through the process. He's not going to shit on everything that there's too many. Beneil Dariush, Islam Makhachev, those are the guys that would fight, not Conor McGregor. That's not how this works. He's becoming more and more irrelevant, as time goes on.
This is what Charles Oliveira had to say about Gaethje. Quote, "Gaethje was knocked out by Poirier, who I just submitted. He was almost knocked out by Chandler, who I beat via TKO, but I am a UFC employee. If they choose that I should fight Justin Gaethje next, I'll be ready for that too." End quote. Dana White has said multiple times now that Justin Gaethje is the #1 contender, but with the UFC landscape these days, you never know what can happen. Sitting down in an interview with Brett Okamoto, Dana talks about how amped up Conor is to return to the octagon, and something that caught my eye in this interview was that Dana refused to answer whether Conor will be fighting for the belt in his first fight back. Watch till the end of this clip.
The thing that I've been saying about him, and I'll always say about him, this guy's got plenty of money, but he is still super passionate about fighting, fired up to come back, and he's out there, doing everything he needs to do to get himself ready to perform again. He's telling me, and I mean, you see it in all of his posts and, the way that he's acting, the things that he's saying. Yeah, he's chomping at the bit to get back. Listen, I have no idea what the landscape's going to look like when he comes back. So to talk about, him and Dustin could be retired by the time Conor McGregor. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in this sport. So I don't know. You have to ask me this summer when we see what's going on in that division in the sport and figure out what's next for Conor.
Okay, well, I got to ask you one more, though, is that he is saying that he wants to come back to a title fight. Is there any realm of possibility in which he could come back and fight for a title?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question until it gets closer.
We have another update to the Chael Sonnen alleged hotel brawl story. Last video we learned that Chael got 5 battery citations for fighting 5 different people. Today Brendan Schaub on his Below the Belt podcast says he spoke to Chael personally, and Schaub reveals what Chael told him happened that night.
Again, he's in Vegas, he's walking to his room, drunk guy and his girl start talking to his girl. The guy keeps commenting on his girl and her looks, and especially her tits. And you're dealing with a guy's guy in Chael Sonnen who has to be one of the greatest fighters to ever enter the octagon, and he stuck up for his girl and beat the shit out of the guy. That's all there is.
Still no official comment from Chael Sonnen, but I'm sure it's coming any day now. Jake Paul has just offered Jorge Masvidal $5 million and a percentage of the pay-per-view buys if he accepts a boxing fight against him. Masvidal has responded, but first let's see what Jake said.
Masvidal, I got an offer for you right now. $5 million guarantee plus percentage of pay-per-views. That's the most you would ever have made as a fight.
Oh my God.
Ever. So now you can't say, I either fight the best or I fight for money. $5 million guarantee plus pay-per-view. Let's make it happen. Daddy Dana just has to let you out of your contract. You work for the UFC. You're a bitch, basically.
Jorge Masvidal responded with 2 tweets. This is what he said. Quote, 1. The UFC isn't gonna let me go for chump change. 2, make that 20 guaranteed plus pay-per-view, and I'm sure the UFC will be okay with it as long as I break them off their fee, and then I'll gladly break your face. If the UFC still says no because the money is still too low, then come on over to the UFC, sign a 1-fight deal, and we can stipulate that I can only box you in the cage. If I do anything other than that, I will forfeit my purse to you. Come on over and get paid and laid out." End quote. After Dustin Poirier lost to Charles Oliveira at UFC 269, Michael Chandler went on Twitter to trash Dustin for quitting because he tapped. An example of one of Chandler's tweets, he said he would never quit, he will always go out on his shield. Now speaking to Damon Martin on the Fighter vs. the Writer podcast, Chandler apologizes for being a little bit too harsh when he called out Poirier for quitting.
And yeah, I will admit maybe I was a little bit too harsh. Maybe the word quit was not the right word to use, but I also think Dustin Poirier has dismissed me since day one. You know, he called me and Charles fighting fool's gold. You know, he dismissed me saying he wouldn't fight me in the UFC even after I knocked out Dan Hooker. I also got my back taken by Charles Oliveira. He almost had that choke locked up and I was able to fight out of it. So I've been in that position. I was able to get out of it. I will admit, I will concede, maybe using the word quit was a little bit harsh.